Everybody, and hope everybody is safe and well. Delighted to have on our webinar this afternoon, we have Sheena Morgan, we have Dr. Colafelo Madiba, and we have Dr. Anthony Shepherd. And behind the scenes, we have Emma Fenton and Etna Vonowitz, both medical recruiters. So Sheena, first and foremost, Sheena has been working in FRS for a number of years. She's been in healthcare recruitment since 2014. She's South African. She moved to Ireland in 2013, so here about 7 or 8 years at this stage. Dr. Colafelo Madiba is also South African. She's a registrar in Obs and Gynae in Sligo University Hospital, and she's been in Ireland over a year, so January 2020. And we've Dr. Anthony Shepherd, who is also South African, so 3 South Africans on the call this afternoon. He's an SHO in Obs and Gynae, University Hospital Kerry, and he is also here since 2020, October 2020. So today we're going to go through basically hospital life in Ireland and maybe the difference between the medical background in South Africa and the healthcare system in Ireland, and how both doctors are settling in. From a personal perspective, how they're getting on. Obviously very difficult with the COVID situation to explore Ireland, but I'm sure they'll give us a bit of an insight into that. And then any advice for viewers, kind of tips or advice that they'd have in terms of IMC registration, or accommodation costs, etc. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to my colleague Sheena.
Good afternoon or good evening, I suppose, to some of you doctors around the world. So thanks for joining us today. Just to start off, both Anthony and Colafelo, why did you think about coming to Ireland to work? What was your decision? And tell us a little bit about the steps.
So I'll jump in first. Sorry, Kola. So the main decision for me to move to Ireland is I visited here as a tourist a year before and fell in love with the place and decided this is where I wanted to be. And then shortly after that, got in touch with FRS Recruitment and started the process to come over. It was mainly for work experience, first world experience. Also, the travel opportunities, obviously COVID hit and that kind of flew out the window for now. Yeah. And that was the main reason for coming on over.
Olo?
With me, well, I love traveling. So yes, the travel part was what basically planted the seed. I remember a year before I reached out to FRS Recruitment, a friend of mine knew I like to travel, and she sent me the email address for FRS Recruitment. And I said to her, well, I'll think about it. And lo and behold, a year later, I was like, actually, I'm in a position where I want to experience medicine in a different country and also accompanied by the opportunity to travel. And I got in touch with FRS, and that was that. And so far, so good.
Okay, so just tell us. I think it's difficult for doctors to know what it's going to be like spending a week in a hospital. So just tell us take us through a regular week in the university hospitals that you both work in.
All right. So from my point of view as an SHO, I'm contracted to work 39 hours a week, being Monday to Friday. My working hours are Monday to Thursday, 8 to 4, and then on a Friday from 8 till 3, which would comprise a full 39-hour week. We are then rostered to do overtime, and that's just dependent on the roster. You can do as many calls as you want, and anything over the 39 hours within a Monday to Sunday period would be considered overtime, and that's what you're paid for on an hourly rate.
And what would your average sort of overtime be for most doctors?
On average, I'm getting about between 50 and 55 hours of overtime a month.
Per month, okay.
Per month.
And for you, Kola?
Yeah.
For me, so as a registrar, I'm at Sligo, as I said. So I work a 8 to 5 day. Generally, every Monday to Friday is an 8 to 5 day, and Friday is an 8 to 4 day. So basically, it depends where you're allocated for the day, but generally you're busy for the full for those all of those hours, whether it be at the antenatal clinic or in the labor ward or in theatre. Generally busy. And what I like is we have a 6-week rotational system. So basically out of those 6 weeks, you'll probably do about 5 or 6 calls or maybe even more, depending on who's on leave and who's not. But what I like about the system is out of those 6 weeks, you're only working 2 weekends. the other 4 weekends you're actually free to do things like study or explore, less COVID, of course. But yeah, I work, I think, slightly more hours than Anthony.
Okay, and was it a big adjustment to the Irish health system? You know, coming from South Africa, just tell us a little bit about what was different, what was new. Was anything challenging? Kolo, do you want to go first?
For me, it was a very big eye opener. Coming from Africa, which is very resource limited, an overburdened system. Coming here, I find that there's a lot more free time, a lot more time to spend with your patients. The workload is not as much, and they are very patient-centered and extremely resource unlimited. I mean, you can get scans and things done within hours compared to back at home where you'd have patients waiting for days for x-rays or scans, which was very refreshing and welcoming change.
Yeah. For me, firstly, being able to walk to work was amazing because that's unheard of at home, simply because of distance, safety, and etc. But I love that I am a 15-minute walk from home. And what was also different, what was a bit challenging for me is adjusting to a system where there's not so much focus or so much burden on the doctor, because back home you end up taking up a lot more responsibility than just the clinical care, simply because of resources are limited and also, you know, understaffed. To come to a system where everybody is, you know, every responsibility has somebody assigned to it, so you don't have to take it upon yourself. And it can be challenging in that you need to humble yourself and basically say and actually accept that some things are meant for other people to do, even though you've been doing it your whole time. So, but the resources, I have to agree with Anthony, resources in terms of scans, blood results, you get them much quicker, and very patient-centered, and just the relationship or the interaction with the patients was also much different, because now you've got more time to elaborate and to counsel a patient.
Can you tell us a little bit how the team would work within your departments? And the responsibility of each member in the team?
Okay, great. So from my point of view, I'm an SHO, so I always have a registrar covering me as well as a consultant. Any patient I see, I'd review with the registrar first. If I couldn't come up with a complete management plan, we would then ask a consultant for advice. But generally, as they get to know you and they know your skill, they kind of give you a little bit more reign over a patient's management, but you are always covered. And there's always someone to ask if you run into troubles. So it's just about getting into the system and buying time. And if you're really good, they kind of give you a bit of free reign.
Okay, so there's a good support system in place.
Very good. Yeah, very, very good.
For you, Kolo?
Very similar, but yeah, just to emphasize that the support structure is very solid. So we have about 4 consultants, so we have 4 units, and in each unit there's a consultant, 2 registrars, and 2 SHOs. So in terms of decision making, and that obviously I'm more senior to the SHOs, so they run their decisions past me. And if need be, I can call the consultant and they're like 10 minutes away, or they're just on the phone, you know, just to get advice. But one thing I also really appreciate here are the midwives. They're a solid team. They're very good at what they do. They support you, and you need to sort of break the ice a little bit while they're getting to know who you are, engaging you. But once you sort of break that ice, their support is amazing. I mean, the other day we had an assisted delivery, a forceps delivery, but the consultant was still on the way, but the baby needed to come out. So and I just managed to do it with the support of the midwives. So just to say, support is a very big thing here, and I've grown to appreciate that.
Okay, great.
And just on that side, Colafello, just pick up on that. As you said earlier, it's about kind of developing that relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it takes a bit of time initially,
Yes.
but it's you know, it pays dividends then once you can solidify it.
Yes, certainly.
And I know, Anthony, that you had to sort of learn the whole paperless system in Kerry. I don't know, Colafello, have you got the same in Sligo?
No, we pen to paper.
Okay, tell us maybe a little bit. I know the hospitals are slowly coming in with a paperless system. Was that a big
So
adjustment for you?
it was, although I am rather okay with technology and computers, so it wasn't too difficult to learn. You spend about 4 hours in training on because all of our whole rubbing is online. Requests for X-ray scans, anything online.
Sorry, we're losing Anthony. We've lost you there. We just wait for Anthony to reconnect there. Okay, so I think let's just move on a little bit. And we've spoken about life in Ireland in the hospitals. Maybe Colafillo, you can tell us a little bit about life in Ireland, how you've settled in. I know COVID has made things a little bit more difficult for you, and just the quality of life. Doctors always ask, what about the cost of living? So maybe you can just give us an overview of how life is in Ireland.
Life as Ireland is really, really great. The first thing I did when I came here is I connected to a church, because that's what I was like at home. I was connected to my church. I was on the worship team, and I found a church here, and I'm on the worship team there. So it was quite nice just to get a different, not to struggle to connect to what I believe to be a very strong support system in my life. I love being able to walk to work. As I said, I can go jogging on my own without worry about any, safety. I love that people are friendly. Like, you walk past the street and somebody just smiles and says hi, and it's random, but it's so cool. It's like, hey, you said hi to me, And I'll touch on something else. One of the biggest worries for my colleagues, at least in South Africa, were my race. They were like, well, are you not scared of racism and treating people of different, because obviously, as you know, in South Africa, most of our patient load is a Black population. And I must say, I think I overplayed it in my head, because I thought it might be an issue, but not at all. I always say to my friends when they ask me, it's like, I don't even remember my skin color when I'm working. Nobody reminds me of it. So that's one thing I would reassure somebody coming from a different culture. They're very open and very welcoming. As long as the quality of your work is good, that's what counts. So don't let that be something that counts against you coming here, because it's okay. Cost of living is really affordable. What I like about here versus at home is that you get paid per hour. As we talked about, the 39 hours of basic working hours, and everything up over and above that is paid at an overtime rate, versus at home where you have a fixed overtime. So whether you work 58 hours overtime or you work 5 hours overtime, you get paid the same. And that's what I appreciate here about the Irish system, is that I get paid what I work, literally by the hour. And that makes life so much easier. Like, cost of living is great. I can afford my flat is 2-bedroom flat. It's beautiful. It's in a good, safe place. I can afford to buy food, groceries, clothes when online shopping because of COVID. But I can afford to splurge and spoil myself, and also still support my family back in South Africa financially. So I would say cost of living is really good, and I'm really happy with the move.
Okay.
Anthony's still away.
Yeah, I think he's. I don't know if we're going to get him back. Maybe there's just a connection thing.
No, I can continue. So in the meantime,
carry on.
I just pop in there, Colafella, just on the cost of living thing. We were over in South Africa at the end of 2018, and one of the main kind of themes was the excessive hours that South Africans do.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't uncommon for people to be doing 24, 36-hour shifts.
Yeah.
I suppose the hours seem to be much more regulated in Ireland, which means that you can have a bit of a social life as well. And then, as you said, if you do any additional hours, you get paid for it as well. So do you want to just maybe talk to us about the difference in terms of our working hours between South Africa and Ireland?
So I think it also depends on what basically number of years of experience and where you are basically in your career. But to sum it up, I finished my training, my specialist training in South Africa. So in the last 2 years before I came here, I wouldn't have been working hours and hours. But during my training, there were easily times where a 24-hour shift turns into a 30 hours just because you have a post intake ward round. You have to sort out all of that work before you go home, and then sleep for a couple of hours, try study, and then be back in the morning. And
Not
I
easy.
find that here it's not like that. Handover time is handover time. If my 24 hours ends at 9, by 9:15, I'm leaving the hospital. So there's no, and if there's for some reason somebody's held up and they can't come in and I have to cover for them an extra hour, I just take it off as an hour that I was there. So, it's really, in terms of hours, it's really much more friendly. And even with, as Anthony said, the patient load is a burden, is much lighter as well. So even in those 24 hours, if I compare them to a 24-hour in South Africa, it's really much more relaxed. It's also might be based on the hospital I'm at. I've heard that there are other busier hospitals, but for me, in my experience at Sligo at the moment, it's really at a pace and a load, and it's palatable.
It's manageable. Great. Work-life balance is essential, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It is important.
Yeah.
And the fact that you said earlier that you are compensated for the extra hours that you do work as
definitely.
well makes a big difference there.
Yes.
Just, the journey to get here, there was lots of paperwork and things. It was your IMC, your EPIC, firstly your IMC, then writing the IELTS test. Can you tell a little bit about the process of doing all that and how easy you found it and the support?
Yeah. So first of all, I had a bit of a stumbling block in terms of the IELTS. For some reason, I did the test and then I passed it, but there was a sub minimum I didn't reach. So I was very distraught. And I was like, I didn't realize I needed this. So I needed to do it twice. And that was okay. So financially, that must have been, that was a bit of a setback, because you do have to pay every time you write the exam. But the second time around, I focused on the area that I needed to get a sub minimum for. I had a crash course a week before my exam just to improve on what to do, how to write a paragraph, what they're looking for. And the second time around, I excelled very well. So, even if you don't get it the first time, don't be discouraged, because there is help and it's just part of the process. And once that was in motion, basically the IMC registration actually was okay. Lots of paperwork, a lot of notarizing, and lots of couriering of things to Ireland and back and forth. But at the end of the day, I think it's more. It was manageable because I did it with an agent, and Sheena, like I always say to you, I don't know how I would have done it without your guidance and just your reassurance in every email that, no, it's fine. Let's do this. This is next. Send me this. This is what's next. So yes, it's a lot of, it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of months. It's financially, you really must budget and be prepared for all the sort of the little expenses you didn't expect. But all in all, get with an agency. I really highly recommend FRS Recruitment. Stick with them, and they will even prepare you for help prepare you for the interview process, what to expect, how to answer questions, and it was personalized. I wasn't just another doctor applying. I was Kolofelo, and I was walked through this stage as somebody who they really want to have in their system. So yes, it's lengthy, but it's well worth it in all aspects.
So just to go over what you're saying to prepare for the IELTS or the OET, which doctors can now do, it's best to maybe do some course online or have a few lessons to know what to expect.
Definitely.
I think that's the stumbling block often, is not knowing what to expect. It's not that you're not capable of speaking English.
Exactly. And I prepared for it like I was preparing for a proper exam. So I downloaded material, printed it out, highlighted, practiced in and out, because you have to take it seriously. It's not just another English test. It's a step towards getting to a bigger dream you want. So I put in a lot of discipline, and in the end it showed.
And it can be, just on the IELTS, guys, it can be quite tricky as well in terms of, the way they phrase the questions can be a little bit tricky. And just to remind viewers again, because people are out there probably thinking, what do they need to pass the exam? You need a minimum of 6.5 in each category, and you need an overall score of 7. It's slightly different in the UK for the GMC, but they're the requirements for Ireland. You also have the option to do the OET exam, and you need to get an overall B and a minimum of B in each section for the OET. So you have two options at the moment, IELTS or OET, just in case people were wondering what the criteria is.
And also just a word, sorry, while we're on that IELTS, just one of my friends had registered for the wrong one.
Oh,
It's the academic. You have to do academic.
Exactly.
Not the general, because if you have to do it again, you're going to have to pay again.
Oh,
So
really? You have to pay?
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
that was a costly mistake.
Yeah, so just make sure you do the academic one the first time around.
Okay, perfect. And then just again with the IMC, it's about just being a little bit organized with your paperwork. So get everything in order, and then it'll be a simple process. But we are here to assist. There's not only Dave, it's myself, Dave, and we have Ethna and Emma as part of the teams. So we can all assist you there. Has everybody disappeared? Dave, Colafelo?
I think I'm here anyway. I think Anthony's in the green room at the moment. Just
Okay.
on the sorry, Sheena, yeah? Just on the IMC registration, yeah, because there's a huge backlog at the moment, and a lot of doctors are asking me how long does it take and how come it's taking me so long. You know, at the moment the IMC is inundated with applicants. Obviously, with the COVID situation, is really kind of exacerbating that problem. So I would just suggest to doctors, just be patient. You will get your registration. It's just, it seems to be taking longer than normal. So, and again, how long it will take is like, how long is a piece of string? It depends on a number of different kind of variables. So it can take anywhere from kind of 2 months right up to 5 and 6 months at the moment. So my advice would be get going now. We're in the middle of March. If your intention is to start in July, which is a great time, obviously, to get a job, you have 4 months now to get your IMC. So regardless of nationality or level that you're working at, start straight away. And if you have any questions on that, because I know Etna's answering questions on the side in terms of the IMC registration, the IMC website is the best place to go, and it's fairly straightforward in terms of getting the initial application.
Okay, I think we still. Colafelo, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Can you see me? I'm still
Yeah.
Okay, we can't see you. Can you see?
Yes, I see both of you.
I can see there might be a few technical issues, but
yeah.
Okay, well, as long as we can hear you, that's the most important. All right. So just and hopefully we can get Anthony in.
Yeah.
Before the end. If you were to give one piece of advice to a doctor looking to work in Ireland, what would that be?
Just do it. Literally.
Just go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, do it. Go for it. If it's your heart's desire, do it. No, I have no regrets.
And do you think it's a good stepping stone in your career?
Yes. Just to, as I said, I'm working at a different level hospital at the moment, but I know that, in the future, also going to bigger, busier hospitals as well, in terms of resources, technology, and just availability of being able to travel to the UK for a course, or going to Dublin for, a congress. Once COVID is gone, I think that's going to also be a very good thing for me, for my career, in terms of skills improvement as well. But yeah, just being here is a very great career move. I'm writing the MRCPI next week. I'm writing that just as a step to show that I am committed to the Irish system and I want to excel and progress. It's not compulsory for me because of my qualification from home, but it's just for me, it just shows that I'm not here just to sit around. I'm here to progress. I want to do research. I'm working on 2 audits. I'm teaching medical students. So it's really, really, really been such a great move. And I know that in the future, it's only going to progress to even higher heights. Yeah.
Okay. Dave, do you want to sum up?
Yeah, so it's great to see anyway, Colafelo. First and foremost, you're clearly very, very ambitious. You're doing all the right things in terms of getting to where you want to get to. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Dave.
Just in terms of answering a couple of questions on the side, I mean, it seems to be just like, the general theme of it is how do I get a job, basically, and it depends on an individual and their experience. A lot of hospitals may require Irish experience. It might be a prerequisite. So it's very hard to get Irish experience, obviously, unless you have it. So it's a bit of a tricky one. Depends on your own experience. It depends on the specialty you're working in. So it's very hard to answer in general, but we could answer specifically if people were to email us. I know Etna has been answering other questions there that have come up. There was and also an Argentina radiologist. For countries that are outside, say Argentina, for example, where the internship wouldn't necessarily be recognised by the IMC, if this radiologist has a certain qualification, they will be press exempt, which is PRES, the exams. If they don't have the said qualification in radiology, they will have to do these press exams. 3 parts, you have part 1, 2, and 3, and you'll pass these exams then to be eligible to apply to the IMC registration. Malaysian doctors, I see somebody here, Dr. Selvin, who's from Malaysia. Malaysia's internship is recognized here, so you just have to apply to the IMC. You don't have to do a press exam, which is handy. Malaysian doctors also don't need a work permit. They need a work permit and not a visa.
Not a visa.
Not a visa, exactly, yeah. Just maybe on the visa and work permit process, South Africans obviously just need a work permit and not a visa, Colaffello.
Yeah.
How did you find it? Is it lengthier? What was your own experience on the work permit process?
Oh, it was smooth.
Okay, great.
Very smooth. Once IMC registration was done, I had a lot of help from the HR or the manpower department at Sligo University. They were brilliant. So once I had that registration done, all I had to do was send it to her. And it takes 4 weeks, and literally on like the day just before 4 weeks, I got it, and I was able to then book my flight and get across. It was really, once you have the IMC, I think everything just comes together after that.
Great.
I think that's the most important, is to have your IMC. You stand a much better chance of being called for interview if your IMC is registered in the final stage, or you're already registered. We do have our compliance officer, Cheryl, and she assists you once with the work permit, how to fill out the work permit application. Those doctors that need to apply for visa, she will assist you with that. When you get to Ireland, we don't leave you stranded at the airport. We sort of direct you where you need to go. And, put you in touch with the state agents to find accommodation. And now we know some people are coming with families. But look, doctors, we've helped them over the years settle in, and when you had your time in one hospital, we help you move on to another hospital. Colaffello, you coming up for January, will have 2 years in Sligo.
Yes.
I know hospitals often say after 3 years you need to get experience with other consultants. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit and why you think that's important?
So just elaborate on it. Yes. So generally in the hospital, they do recommend that you move on to a different hospital after 3 years. And I must say I think it's a very good system to have, because it makes sure that you don't become stagnant. Number one, I think in the same environment, you're comfortable, you're not progressing, this is what I know, versus actually going to other hospitals, experiencing different levels of hospital treatment. Like if I go to Dublin now, I'll have a completely different experience from what I'm having here in Sligo. And as for me, to be honest, I probably won't wait the full 3 years, because I am revving. I have plans, so I need to get myself into the specialist side of things more quicker than 3 years. As I said, my qualification from home will help me with that process. But yes, it's very important, and be prepared that 3 years, even if you have your family here, obviously it means you must be flexible enough to be able to move them probably every 3 years, depending on your position.
Okay. Sorry, Anthony's just sent a message. He's actually in the hospital. He's working today, and he thinks there's a problem with the signal. So I don't think we're going to get him back. Dave, do you want to sort of sum up how the day? Thank you, Colaffello. I think it's been very insightful, even for us, to learn a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis and how the on-call works, etc. Dave, anything you want to add?
I'd just like to echo what Sheena was saying. Thanks a million, Colaffello. We know you guys are very busy, and you kind of touched on it at the start of the call, so really appreciate your time. I'd like to thank Etna and Emma behind the scenes there for answering the questions. and obviously Anthony, but the reception wreaked havoc on his internet connection, unfortunately. But thank him for his time as well, and Aaron, obviously, who facilitated it. So anyone who's listening in, if you have any questions, doctors@frsrecruitment.ie is the email address. So either pop your
.com.
Sorry, apologies. Thanks, Sheena.
Yeah.
So doctors@frsrecruitment.com. How I got that wrong, I don't know. So I'll type it up afterwards so people will have it there to see.
Okay.
Send your CV to that email address, or any queries that you need, pop them into that email is probably the best thing to do. So I think that's it.
Sorry, I just realized that Etna she's the email address that I had from the year before I applied. So I wanted to say hi to her. She used to call me while I'm at the hospital at work and say, listen, this is what you need to get. And this is just before she handed over to Sheena. So I just want to say hi. I didn't know you'd be sort of here. Thank you. Thank you for that process.
And I think
she'll give you a virtual wave there, Colafella.
And I think just on that, we work very much as a team. So one of us will always be there to assist you. If somebody's away on leave or sick for whatever reason, there's always somebody in the team that will pick up and help you along the way. So good time now. July is not that far off. So if you're interested in working in Ireland, please forward on your CVs. And thank you again, Colafella, for your time, and good luck. I know you've gone study leave today because you're writing exams. So best of luck with the exams.
Thank you so much.
I think Etna's seen your comment anyway, Colafella. If you look at the bottom, you see the response.
Nice to see you online.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your time.
Bye.
See you. Bye.